much, Tessa, for inviting me along, and again, a pleasure to see some familiar faces on the call tonight. And we have been working with many halls for a number of years, probably over 10 years now. And what I like to talk about is how we go about the process that we go about specing or looking at a hall, and share with you how we come about with the ideas of what's right for that hall and what's not. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you don't mind, I'll share first of all our literature that we've developed with Acre, in partnership with Acre, for the past 10, 10 years thereabouts. So
That's
can everybody?
Action with Communities in Rural England, who are our umbrella organisation, in case you didn't.
Yeah, if you didn't know. So basically, we, as Acre members, and Acre halls, the drive is to push away from gas central heating to either electric heating or different renewable type heating. And the best way to do that is with electric heating. Even if you're considering heat pumps, you might that still requires electricity to use it. So that might be a solution for you as well. So we designed a brochure that looks at how your hall works. I'm not going to read everything verbatim. If everybody wants, I can send a copy on for you, and you can have that at your disposal and at your leisure. So at ARC, we have been installing, as I said previously, we've been installing infrared heating solutions and heating solutions for the past 10 years. The bulk of our business is dealing with community buildings and village halls. We represent a company, a manufacturer in Austria called eTherma, and we are the sole distributors for eTherma products in the UK. eTherma started 45 years ago, and they started off just producing heating cables, and which is, cables that are able to take heat through its network. And from that heating cable, they then went on to produce heating elements, and now infrared heating, and also underfloor heating, shortwave infrared, longwave infrared, different types of electric heating solutions. And we are the UK's representative for them. And sorry, Roger, did you have your hand up? 1 second. You have a question? Let me just see.
I think that hand up has been up for a while.
Okay. It will probably populate into the chat if you do have. And so that gives you a little bit of background about Arc Thermal and Arc Thermal Solutions. We're predominantly specifiers of heating solutions, electric heating solutions, and we're made by eTherma. Right, so that's, yeah, okay. So when we look at a solution that works for a village hall, we have to consider a few things. And one of the few things that we consider is one, project management. We talk to the halls and find out, first of all, when anybody contacts us, we try to get as much information about that facility itself, the hall, if it's well insulated, if it's poorly insulated, how often is it used? Do you have internet at the hall? What do you have double glazing? And how frequently is the hall used? What is your electrical supply like? We look at all these different elements, and once we've understand all those elements, then we can start making a reasonable assessment. And with that, we can then provide you with two different facilities, which is project management. So, for example, if a hall approaches us similar to what we're trying to do with Alice Marshall and Swimbrook, is they approached us, we came up with a design, we came up with an installation package, we went to site, we looked at the hall itself, made recommendations, and we put forward that proposal. And those projects are going to be done as a turnkey project where we design, specify, and install the project, and we will then project manage that whole process. We
Is that
also
what you
offer,
call the whole thing? So where you've
Yeah, like
designed it and then you supply the products. That's what you call a turnkey
turnkey solution where we would
solution.
project manage the entire process
Okay,
of the
thank you.
installation. And we also offer a similar situation with supply only. So supply only might be where we would still design the system, look at the building, come up with a relevant specification for that particular building, design it, specify it, but not install it. And that the reason we might not install it is the hall might have their own contractors who are competent in installing infrared heating, or competent that they can install it themselves. And we will then have a supply only, but we will be on hand to help the installer in any way possible. Does that make sense? Yep.
Yeah.
And then we also try, because a lot of halls ask us, and that's where we come back to Tessa and different companies for funding. So we try our best to help them, but most of the time, if they are part of the ACRE network, then there is that facility for funding as well, because funding is always an issue. And I'm sure you can talk about that whenever you get a chance, Tessa.
I see you've got, sorry if you've mentioned this already. I was distracted seeing if anyone had tried to contact me, because we're half the number that people actually booked, which is a bit odd. But you've got insulation there.
Yep.
So do you support halls to find insulation, or just advise halls to find insulation first?
We would advise halls to the first thing to look at, if they haven't looked at it already, is insulation.
Yeah.
Because it's a quick win for most halls, and it may not, touch wood, it may not be that costly. However, we have done halls in the past where the hall was going to be charged something like £20,000 to do an installation at a particular, put a suspended ceiling in, put more insulation in, and have it more thermally efficient. The problem with that particular hall is they like the look of their hall. They like the feel of the big arches, all the different woodwork. They didn't want to cover those things up. And if they decided, well, they'd look at the heating first and see how that works. So they installed the heating first, and then afterwards they found out that the heating was working really well for them, that they didn't need to spend that extra £15,000 or £16,000 to do the insulation and the false ceiling. So for them, it's more aesthetic, which worked really well for them.
Okay.
So this is how we would look at the building itself. So a little bit about infrared heating. We have 3 different forms of infrared heating. You have shortwave infrared, medium wave infrared, and long wave infrared. Shortwave infrared is where you would be accustomed to it if you go to a pub or an outdoor area. You press a button, you get this red light shining straight onto you. Most of the time that is shortwave infrared. Very high heat output, but only concentrated on 1 meter or 2 meters in your vicinity. As soon as you move away, you get no heat at all. Shortwave infrared is designed to do that, and it's designed for outdoor areas. We will not recommend them in halls that are enclosed. We would only put those in halls that have very open spaces. Yeah, we've done one with a grade 1 listed building where there's no windows at all in the building, but they use it as a wedding venue and film shoot and stuff. So we have that heating in there when it's needed. That's shortwave infrared. And then you have medium wave infrared, which is what most halls would be accustomed to, what we would normally put into most halls. And those are, as you can see, if you can see my cursor, these up here. And these are designed to be installed in ceiling heights above 3 meters. So in other areas, we would install that in like aircraft hangars, which we've done, very, very high warehouses, bus and truck garages, and other places that have very high ceiling. This is what we would normally install. And this is what we will be installing at Alice Marshall and at Swimbrook. And these are your medium wave infrared. Surface temperature on these heaters will get up to about 260 to 300 degrees Celsius. So that's another reason why it's not really meant to be installed anything below 3 meters. Now, in shorter or smaller ceiling rooms, which are like here, your standard ceiling heights between 2.2 meters and 2.9, for example, we would install long wave infrared heaters. The long wave infrared heaters are this. If you can see my cursor, you can see one of them here at the side of the light fitting. The surface temperature, the surface size of them are a little bit bigger than the ones down here. If you can see my cursor again at the bottom over this door,
yeah,
you can see one medium wave infrared, and then here you have the long wave infrared. Surface temperature gets up to below 100 degrees, and they are meant to push the heat evenly across the space. And with regards to where the heat goes, if you look here, I think I discussed this with Jackie today, where the heat goes, it goes down as a cone of heat. So basically what we're meaning is that heat projects almost like a light fitting. If you have lights in your home, you would have you would have your light going at an angle coming down. Similar situation with infrared heating. You have a cone of heat going down, heating the people directly, heating the surfaces directly, heating the objects, and the last thing it will do, it will heat the air. So most halls and most homes would be accustomed with convection heating. Convection heating, as the name suggests, heats the air first and then circulates. So you have hot air circulating. With infrared heating, you're pushing the heat downwards, and you're heating the surfaces, the objects, and the people. And the last thing you would do is heat the air. And that is why it's more efficient, because although the air temperature might be 16 degrees, you might feel that it's 19 or 20 degrees, because there's a difference between comfort level and air temperature level. And most people would know that if they're sitting in their home and the thermostat says it's 20 degrees, but you feel it's warmer than that. And that's how, that's why another reason why it's more efficient. One of the other major reasons why the efficiency is there is if we're going from electric heating to infrared heating, like in some halls where you have convection heaters, 9 times out of 10, the convection heaters are going to be more power hungry than the infrared heaters. And cases where you have these convection panel heaters, they might be 2 kilowatts, maybe 2.5 kilowatts, maybe 3 kilowatts. And you might have 4 or 5 of them in a hall, and you might only need half the kilowatt output for the infrared heaters. So you might, in certain cases, depending on the size of the hall, depending on how well insulated that hall is and how U values of that hall, you will then be able to reduce first of all, your installed power, and secondly, be able to control it via thermostat, which helps you as well. So does that make sense so far? Does anybody have any questions?
Can I ask about the thermostat?
Yes, sure.
Does that depend on the air temperature?
Yes.
Yes, so you have to manage the temperature, saying the air is 16, that means people feel like it's 19 or something like that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. we've had that in the past where customers say it's too hot, but the thermostat is saying it's cold, and we said, you know, that's good. So you turn it down, and it's a trial and error on that basis to get the temperature right, because it's comfort level versus air temperature level. So there's two different things there. Any other questions?
I do say
Sure.
that when I do my yoga, I do actually position myself between the heaters rather than have one aimed at me, because I'm hot anyway.
So we have had a few. Well, we also install this for hot yoga studios. So we have a lot of gyms that come to us to install these heaters to get them up to temperature-wise 40 degrees. So we have consistently installed these at high-end gyms in London, and they get up to 40, 42 degrees. So you come out very, very warm, but people are happy with that, and that's what they like.
There's a question in the chat, Damien.
Sure, go ahead.
About talking about suspended heaters.
Yep.
Second.
Let's see. Let me stop sharing for a second if I can get.
Oh, it's good.
Okay. Is it possible to suspend these? Yeah, you can suspend them. Okay, let me show you one that I was doing. So I can show, I have lots of pictures of different holes as well, so I can go through those if you want to later on. So presently, just go back.
Lost sound.
Oh, Damien, you're on mute.
There you go. Yeah, that's better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Some halls have acoustic tiles, and we have a hall in Oxford somewhere, and I can't remember the name of the hall, but the entire ceiling is full of acoustic tiles. And we were able to install the heaters below the acoustic tiles and suspend them as well. So it can be done. We just need a clearance. In most cases, you need a clearance of 300 mil off another fitting. So in this case here, you can see the light fitting and the heater is over 300 mil away from each other. And the heater is a tad lower as well. This hall is in Nottingham somewhere, if I remember correctly. So Tessa, can I, because I can't see the questions when I'm doing this presentation.
No, I'll do it. For some reason I lost it, but I'll be reading the questions out. Don't worry. That's
all right. If there's any more there, that's fine. So it's maintenance free. All the products are made in Austria, as I said previously. The only maintenance you need is when you do your 5-year condition report or your 3-year condition report. It just becomes part of your condition report to test the circuit. That's it. So
can we just go back to the suspended heaters? Sorry, but there's
sure, yeah.
It's can you have the acoustic kites below the heaters?
So acoustic tiles or acoustic kites?
Or tiles, or can they be? It says kites, but yeah.
Okay. You need to be about a meter, between a meter off, depending on which heater you're using. So if you're using the medium wave heaters, these, I would want to be a meter away from that. Not saying that it can't be installed, but I would want to be directly, if you're going directly, I'd want to be about a meter away from that. We have halls that put bunting up and they have the bunting below the heater, but they take them down occasionally. That's not a problem. There's no fire risk to this, but what if if you have acoustic tiles or any kind of fabric there for a prolonged period, you might get some scarring, which could happen maybe in 2 years' time or thereabouts. So it's prolonged use, direct on it, that if it's very close to it, you will get a little bit of scarring.
And if you have temporary things like paper chains for parties, would you say avoid them?
No, we've had them installed where bouncy castles have been placed. We've had balloon parties, and in the 10 years we've had one balloon pop, and that was because somebody actually pushed the balloon straight to the heater. So that we've never had any issues with discoloration or any safety issues at all. However, if safety is an issue, we have cages that could go around the heater as well, but that's an extra cost. It's not necessary, but it's an extra cost. Does that help?
Yes, maybe just give us an example where that might have to happen. It doesn't sound like it does really have to happen.
We've had one case, a scout group, where they're kicking balls, and we said it's not necessary for them to install it, but for their own peace of mind, they decided that they want to install it.
That's to protect the heaters rather than any risk of burning anything. Okay, thank you.
Let's see if I can go on there. There we go. So with infrared heating, obviously it's electricity you're dealing with, and if you're able to integrate solar PV with a system, and that is something that its cost element is there, so that's fine. I would suggest looking at solar PV as well as an integration. Multiple halls in the past have done that, and they've installed not only PV but storage to go with it as well, which means that you can use the power as you need it. And if you have storage, then great, you can use the stored power in the night when you might have an event, because most halls do have events either in the night. You might have film clubs, you might have your social engagements. And I know Alice have just done their solar, so that will be helpful for them in the future as well. Does that make sense? Do you want me to walk through? Do you want me to walk through how solar works, or everybody happy with knowing the integration of that?
Well, I mean, I love the fact that you can power the heating, the infrared heating, with solar panels. But I mean, you would need a battery probably, especially for the winter months, wouldn't you?
Some cases it's prudent to have a battery, some cases it isn't. And
I don't know about these things, but is it quite the thermal, the infrared heating? Is that quite easily to be powered by the solar PV without a battery then?
If you're using it during the day and you don't have a battery, so the cases where you might not need a battery is where your usage could only be once a week, maybe, and you could sell back to the grid. So whatever you're generating going back to the grid is fine. But your cost of a battery is your most expensive cost in terms of your solar PV solution. So you might be spending, I don't know, £10,000, for example, on batteries, and the batteries are full at capacity at all the time, and they never get drained. Your usage you never use them. So you put a lot of money into the battery in something that may not be applicable. So when we look to size a system up, we ask for your energy consumption over the past year and a half. We look at your energy bills, and we look at your typical usage. Your typical usage, that's where we will go back and spec a PV system based on that. And we would look at the orientation over the year and say, well, you know, your projected kilowatts for that period is going to be X. And if you're going to have a battery, it may be useful or it may not be useful. Just depends on the situation. And I've been to halls where somebody has sold them the full kit and caboodle. You know, they spent £25,000 on everything, and 3 years' time, some of it becomes redundant, and they don't use it. So it's really a cost element.
Would you say that it's better if you're running something else along with your heaters then?
Yeah.
If you were going to go down that route? Yeah.
So I'll show you a little bit about the surveys that we do and all that stuff, but basically it's a comprehensive offering that we try to put in place for customers. When a customer approaches us, I had a whole approach me this morning, and the first thing I would do is have a conversation with them and just find out a little bit about the whole, a little bit about what's heating is there, and get that information. Once we've gathered all that information, we tend to produce a desktop proposal for that customer. I could show you one. And once we produce that desktop proposal, we'll then take it to the customer and say, this is what we think is the best solution for yourself. These are the cost implications. Is this something that you are likely to be happy with, or is it something that doesn't seem possible? If the customer thinks that is something that they would like to pursue, then we would do a full survey, double check all our assumptions, make sure that everything is, you know, as is, and then sign that off with the customer. And the customer then says we'd like to proceed. Then we would make a visit like we did today to double check with our installers and see how where they're going to go, where the heaters are going to go, what positioning, or what time of day we can install, where we can store the heaters. Go through the whole planning process at that stage, and then we send that back, and the customer then agrees, and then we move forward. Then we have after sales service as well, which is supporting, which Jackie saw you earlier on today as well. Any other questions? Okay. Again, this is another hall. This is Berrien Arbour in Devon, and you can see, you can see some bunting still up, and they've moved that bunting all over the place. This was installed, I think, in 2019, if not even earlier than that. So that gives you a little bit of a flavor. Here are some case studies. We've done Denham Village Hall. We have done, these are the different solutions. Oh, there is somebody in the lobby. Oh, Robin's back.
Have you got any close-ups of the different types of heaters in halls while we're on the...
Yeah, I can show you that. And this is, we ask, so when a hall approaches us, we ask them for a floor plan or some sort of idea of what we're working towards. We ask for pictures of the distribution boards and the like, if we haven't been to site, and we gathered all that information, and then it spits out the proposal. So I will show you that. Here is a few of the other halls that we've done. I could name all of them, I think. Just looking at them. Yes, so this is Berrien Arbour. This is Welwyn Baptist in London. This is Kimbolton in Cambridge. This is Taverham in Suffolk. This is Donninghurst in Essex. Sorry. What else we have? This is
the one in the middle there with the pink floor.
That's a church.
Are they embedded in the roof, or are they on the walls? I can't.
So if if you look, I can't make this any bigger, but I can get this picture for you. If you
Oh, I
look where my
meant the one below that actually, without the
This one.
chairs in. Yeah.
Oh, this one, yeah. Oh, this is actually in Billingborough. So this is in Billingborough, and the heaters are actually in the suspended ceiling. So that there's a
Ah,
heater. There's a
okay, that's very
heater.
neat.
So there's no, you can't even make out that's a heater at all. Which one again? Let's see. This is a church. This one over on this side. This is a church in Wales. This is in Stoke-on-Trent, and this one up here with a nice curved ceiling, if you want to call it, like a dome ceiling. This is Stuartby Village Hall in Bedfordshire. Stuartby Village Hall in Bedfordshire, and the Bedford Council actually did a case study, independent to us, a case study on this, and I can share that case study with anyone who likes. And that was done 2021, I think. And the heaters, this was a little bit of a struggle because we couldn't go on the ceiling, so the heaters are on the wall, as you can see. And that they had electric heating previously, and that was easy to do, but still a struggle. And that is
what happens with a dome roof like that? Is the heating lost a bit?
No.
No.
So the heaters are angled, as you can see, they're angled at about 40 degrees down. So we're pushing the heat. We're still pushing the heat down, and all the heat will then be, because these heaters are directional in terms of heat. So you've got heat coming down that way, heat going down that way. What we didn't want is heat loss in the middle. So when we spec this, we would look at measure the hall, measure the the thermal losses, and then come up with a watts per square meter that we need to heat that space.
Ah, okay, thank you.
And when we work out what the heat requirement is, then we work backwards and we say, okay, basically we want 150 watts per square meter, for example. And if it's 150 watts a square meter, how many heaters would we need per watt to heat that space? And that's how we would normally work it out. And that's how we worked it out with all the halls, really. So, sorry.
Yes.
The picture in the top left-hand corner, is that similar to the layout you're going to do for Swimbrook?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. And this particular hall here, we are led by customers. This hall had two more heaters than needed.
Right.
And the reason for that is the aesthetics was more important for that customer. They wanted the lights and the heaters to be in sequence. However, this hall gets up to temperature less than 10 minutes.
Right. Perfect.
In the dead of winter, they just, it's a very, very warm hall. And what I have been back onto this hall because they play badminton in this hall. It's a large hall.
Yeah.
And we had to adjust one of the heaters a couple of years afterwards. And I went up, I was on the tower, and one of the shuttlecocks was behind one of the heaters. Because there's a gap between the heater and the ceiling here.
Yeah.
And the shuttlecock was still intact after being used for 3 years.
Yeah.
There was no scarring or no anything. But so I was quite impressed, really, because like, oh, we can still use this. So
Right.
so that I hope that helps. Any more questions? I will just go. Jackie, are you okay? Are you okay with that?
You're on mute.
Just working my way around this Teams business. Yeah, no, it's interesting. The shuttlecock was interesting too, because we have scouts in our hall, so you never know. But it's all really interesting, and I think that we will be glad that we made the decision in the end. Hopefully.
Oh, you will. Definitely. I'll make sure of it.
I'm thinking about halls that have decided to have the infrared. I mean, I don't suppose it matters what heating they have. If you don't have insulation, then any heating is going to be, you'll need extra heating.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's just that if there's a hall with a wooden, rafters, and they don't want to ruin those rafters, or then they have to actually take the roof off, don't they, to put the insulation, and so the cost might be prohibitive. And I know you've already answered this, but I'm just interested in the fact that the heating is going to be more efficient than the old heating anyway, so it would still be an improvement if it was impossible to insulate well.
Yeah. What tends to happen is you get up to temperature, because a lot of halls have a on-off system where they come in, they turn the heating on. Some of them don't have any controls at all. They're just, okay, well then the heating just goes on and just you're spending money. And so what tends to happen is either the hall overheats or it never gets to temperature. And when we designed the system, we wanted to get to temperature, and we wanted to get to a minimum of 19-20 degrees. If the customer wants more than that, we design it to get up to 25 degrees, because we have a tolerance of 5 degrees. And what tends to happen is the heating will get up to temperature, and once it gets up to temperature, it will just cut off, and it will hold that temperature until you tell it to do something else. So in terms of controls, the controls are run via it could be run via an app, which we recommend in most cases. We have some halls that didn't want an app and just wanted a thermostat, standalone thermostat. Yeah, but you don't have to come back to the hall to program the thermostat to come in, so it kind of defeats the purpose, because really want is convenience, right? And people want to be able to turn the heating on and make sure it's convenient and don't have to walk 10-15 minutes to go and turn the heating on before class comes on. And it will get up to temperature, hold that temperature, and then turn off. At night, we would recommend you turning the heating off, or back to a temperature setting, which is like a frost protection. And frost protection on all the stats that we provide, the minimum temperature it will go down to is 10 degrees. So your hall will never get lower than 10 degrees if you don't want it to. If you turn the thermostat off completely, then it will get down to lower than 10 degrees, because it's not on. You turn the heating off. For example, in your home, you might have a holiday mode, and you say, well, I don't want any heating on at all. And you can do that with this thermostat as well. And so I just wanted to show you a little bit of how we go through the process again. This is that church that I showed you and this is Clare Baptist Church in Suffolk. Remember that church you were talking about where the heaters are? So the heaters are on the wall and in the office and in different areas. The heaters here is 8 by 1200, 8 by 200, 2000 watt heaters across the perimeter. Here's 4 by 700 watt heaters. And let's see, what else can I show you? You're happy with that? Is there anything else?
Robin's got his hand up.
No, I'm just saying, Damien, thank you very much. I have to dip out, but very interesting, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next few weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. Okay, Robin, thanks very much for your time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Robin.
Talk to you soon. Take care.
Right, Roger, while we're on questions, Roger's just posted a question. So he says, we are considering installing PV panels. The hall is not used very often. What are the economics of capital outlay relative to the feed-in tariff?
Good question. And that's about your present energy consumption of the hall. So if you want, I could look at the viability of it based on your energy bills. If it's possible that you could send me over like a year's worth of your energy bill, your annual bill, and I can see what's possible. Do you have electric heating already at the hall or not?
While Roger's typing, can I just ask you, so what would you recommend about, because of course many halls really like to have remote control for their heating, so that they don't have to, you know, the caretaker or the trustees don't have to actually visit the hall to turn the heating on. Is it possible to have that and have control for the groups using the hall in the hall?
Yep.
Oh,
so with the app that we recommend, you have multiple users, so you can have the groups. If you wanted to, you could give the group user an access to the app. But most halls, what they do is they set the programs for that particular event. So you might have Pilates, or you may have line dancing, for example, and you set the heating to come on probably half an hour before the event and turn off maybe an hour into the event, depending on how long the event is. But you must do two things. You must, when you set the program to come on, you must set a program for it to go off. And that's just a command. So you have to tell it what to do. You can have multiple users, and if you don't want to, you can block them. If at the event itself the heating is not up to temperature, or if it's too hot, you can turn it down via the thermostat that lives in the hall. So the thermostat has that controllability. We usually recommend, and we have it in most of our proposal, that we have a lockbox that goes over that thermostat, because you don't want multiple people playing with your thermostat. And this lockbox is a clear lockbox that just goes over the thermostat to prevent anybody tampering with the thermostat. So it's as flexible or as rigid as you want it to be.
Yeah, I was just thinking of an example of my yoga teacher. So we don't want it very high when we're exercising, but then at the meditation at the end, we do want her to turn the heating up a bit and have that capability. And they do, I mean, the hall does not have a cage over it, but I totally understand why you might need that. Roger has said that they do have mounted convector heaters, electric. Yeah.
So it might be prudent to just to have a quick overview of it, Roger, and give you a best case scenario. And PV might be a good solution, as well as infrared heating, but without digging into it, I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head. So, but we can definitely help. At least give you some advice first.
Does anybody would like a quick break?
Or is there anything else that you want me to cover? Or okay, so I've gone through infrared, I've gone through PV. Heat pumps is one option, but it is an option where people may or may not have the kind of money that we're talking about, because heat pumps is generally a costly exercise. Meaning, if you're already in gas, you'll have to rip up most of depending on the building itself, you might have to rip up all the facilities to put in a air source heat pump, which proves to be sometimes very capital intensive in terms of costs, and it may not be feasible. So it can be done. I'm just letting you know that it may or may not be feasible.
What about halls out in rural situations that are on oil, for instance?
Most of the time, those halls can get an upgrade to either infrared heating, or they might actually get an upgrade to the electrical supply if they don't already have it. and that would be the best course of action in most cases. So just pinpointing here, this is a map of our installations. Sorry if it's going backwards and forwards. It is not as updated as I would have liked it to be, because we do have some installations on the Isle of Mull. We have one installation here on the Isle of Mull, which is not there, and we are doing another one in Tobermory, and that's the furthest north we have done. We have quoted on a job where is it? Near John O'Groats. We've quoted on a job there, but they have not come back to us yet. And the furthest south we have done is on the Isle of Wight and in Penzance. I was in Somerset last week. I have jobs going in there in the next month. So we do get through the country, length and breadth of the country. And we have installers all over. In-house installers as well as contractors that would work further afield for us. And the reason we do that, the reason we have people further afield, is if there's a local job that's happening, like we did one in the Forest of Dean a couple of weeks ago, and the contractor is basically 10-15 minutes away. So if for whatever reason we had to go back, it's a quick response time. So that gives you a little bit of a flavor. We're getting a lot of requests from churches at the moment, because they are mandated. The Church of England is mandating them to actually switch over from gas to electric, and that mandate is happening it has to be done by 2030. So presently there's a lot of churches looking for solutions, and the problem that we have with churches is power supply. So we might have that in village halls as well, and that is where there isn't adequate enough power at the hall for us to install, or for them to upgrade in any form as well. So that helps. So what we would require, any other questions? No?
I am interested in heat pumps, because I do get a lot of questions about heat pumps.
Yeah.
And of course I take it on board that they are expensive to put in.
Mm-hmm.
But as we mentioned earlier, people do want to move away from fossil fuels.
Yeah.
So are there any other criteria apart from having the money? What else would you?
The electrical supply to the building. So regardless of of what building we're looking at, heat pump 9 times out of 10 might require 3-phase supply to be installed or in place. And the 3-phase, usually 100 amp 3-phase supply. So that's one of the main criteria. And if that's not there, then it can be done. However, the cost implication is quite considerable in most cases.
To get enough to put a better supply in, you mean?
Yeah, let's put it this way. I am doing, we'll be doing a job in Long Melford, and they had to get a power upgrade to do the job, and they were quoted £25,000 to do the upgrade. And we went back and we said, well, that is possible, but we can reduce the heating load to the building and have power diversion monitors in place so that they don't trip the breakers. But they weren't able to get the funding to do the upgrade, so we downscale the heating for them. And there was another hole that we did some years ago.
Well, this was heating alone, not heat
Yeah,
pumps.
yeah. No, this was heating and heating and they wanted to put heat pumps as well, and it just wasn't viable.
So, okay.
And there's a hole that we did some years ago, and the upgrade cost them £500. So it's really an anomaly of looking at the building. You have to look at the electrics to the building itself, and first of all sometimes make an adjustments and assumptions immediately.
Have you come across halls where you've been pleasantly surprised and
Yes.
it's all worked out very well for a heat pump and everything that was requested?
Yeah. I'm always happy to see a hall that has a good three-phase supply, like Alice Marshall's. So it's a lovely hall, lovely. Just fills me with hope.
How would a hall know that they've got a three? That's the first thing you've got to look at before you even consider it.
So yeah, well, one of those. Yeah, I am going to show you what to look for, and just bear with me 1 second.
There is a question from Roger as well.
Yes, I saw that. Hold on 1 second. It's generally for your wet rads, your underfloor. It's generally for your wet rads, Roger. Underfloor heating, we do.
Can
that
I just
as well,
read the question out? So
sure.
So Roger says, presumably heat pumps supply hot water for wall-mounted and wet radiators or underfloor heating.
Yeah, it's generally for your wall-mounted rads, and underfloor heating. You can divert it for there, but underfloor heating, you'll probably use electric underfloor heating instead of a heat pump. So 1 second, let me show you what to look for. Just give me a minute.
I hope I'm not asking questions that everybody knows answers
No,
to.
it's fine. It's fine. So here's one I prepared for you earlier. So here's a typical distribution board, but there's also lots of different things on this hall. So this is what we asked the customer for, and this is the information that they sent back. So we have a closed distribution board. We have a distribution board showing you these things up here. Can you see these two black things there?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the fuse heads. So those are what the incoming supply is coming through. So here you have two. So this will be 2 phases. If you had a 3-phase supply, you'd have 3 of these. And a 3-phase supply would have a different board as well. You'd normally have a 3-phase board where, so a phase is one, if it's 3-phase supply, 100 amp 3-phase supply, for example, you'd have 1 phase would have 100 amp, second phase would have 100 amp, the third phase would have 100 amp. So you'd have 300 amps coming into that building. If your heating requirement requires, let's say 100 amps, you would then take those 100 amps and divide it over the 3 phases. And that means you're balancing the load of the power coming in and being used into that building. So this particular head is not your property. That is UK Power Networks property, or whoever's a National Grid if you wanted that. And then it goes into your meter. So your meter is here. This particular hall has 2 phases. So if you look, you'll have this brown cable going from one head into that meter and another going into this meter. They have 2 meters here. One of them could have been economy 7, or one of them could be just a standard meter. And we would look for pictures of the distribution. So this is a picture that we would look for. We'd look for pictures of the distribution board opened up so we could read the labels. And then we look for the hall, pictures of the hall itself, and so on. We would also ask halls if they haven't had one, or if they do have one, is a condition report, electrical condition inspection report, which
Celia's,
is...
oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Celia's
no, go ahead.
asking where this hall is.
This is in Rendham Village Hall in Norfolk, I believe.
It looks a bit like an old school room, doesn't it, Celia? A bit an old school, a bit like Brightwell.
Yeah, the heaters, I can show you after pictures of this hall as well if you want to, before and after. But we've done multiple halls similar to this.
What have they
So,
had done?
Hold on one second. Let me have a look. I just picked them randomly, unfortunately.
Oh,
so.
okay. Well,
But no,
if
no,
you
that's
have a
fine, that's
case
fine.
study you want to show us, that would be.
We have
Well-
loads of case studies, but I will show you the before and after. 1 second. So let me go back, share. And you may not be able to see. Yeah, don't think you can see that. You can see the files.
It's very small.
Yeah, you can see the files, but let's see if I can pull up the photo. There we go. That's the after. So same hall. And the heaters in this time, the height of the ceiling didn't warrant us putting the heaters in the ceiling, so we suspended the heaters just below the ceiling. And this hall is used for multiple. I don't have many. There you go.
Very nice looking, aren't they?
And that's Rendham Village Hall. That is. Is there any hall that looks like that? And does anybody have a hall that looks similar to that? No.
Celia, did you want to ask anything about Brightwell?
No, because as you know, they're still hoping to refurbish it. And I was just interesting to see how the after picture looked. But of course, they're hoping to take the ceiling down, aren't they? So, yeah.
Right. Okay.
But because they're having a new roof, then the insulation will be put in when the new roof goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would probably be, up to, well, it will be up to the latest regs, which is a minimum of 300 going in, which is good.
Yeah.
So this hall is in Somerset. They have multiple rooms to this hall. That's the entrance.
It is a very cozy hall, isn't it now?
This hall had solar as well as solar PV storage as well. Here the heaters.
So here we can see some sound panels.
No, those are heaters.
What, the white squares?
Yep.
Oh, I thought the heating was the small, or those are lights. Oh, okay.
No,
Did
the
they
heaters
do
are there.
did they do the PV panels at the same time as the heaters?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So-
seems sensible. I mean, they're debating to cut costs, not doing the PV panels, but I think that's such a negative way to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we got a huge roof. But
Mhm.
you know,
So this particular hall
Yeah.
moved away from gas as well. As you see the gas rads here, they've decommissioned their boiler, and they put the heaters in. Here you have the fuse spur. So if you wanted to turn one of these heaters off for whatever reason, you could switch it off from that spur there. And these were 900. So 1, 2, 3. I think we have 3 on each side, 6 heaters, and these are 900 watts in total. Each one is 900 watts in total, and that's what was needed to heat that space.
Hmm.
And all controlled via an app. If you look down there, where my cursor is running, right there is the thermostat that controls all the heaters, which is near to the light switch.
Okay. Needs a coat of paint, that hall, doesn't it?
Yeah, just a tad. Okay.
So can you take us through a case study from start to finish of a... I mean, I know you've
Sure.
explained already what you do, but it's quite nice
Sure.
to see
So I'll take you through one of our. It's not a village hall, but I'll take you through. I can take you through both of them. First of all, I'll do a case study of one of the largest projects we ever did. And 1 second. So you could probably see Pilot Pen there.
Yeah.
So don't know if anybody knows what Pilot Pen is, but Pilot Pen, as the name suggests, makes pens. And they're a global company that I think their head office is in Japan. But they have a UK office, which is a UK and European office in High Wycombe. And they contacted us because they wanted heating in the warehouse. And when we started to look at the project, then we expanded it and expanded it and expanded it. I took them around to different locations, some really old buildings that we had and stuff, and they chose us to do all the heating for their building. So we started off with heating the offices, and I'll show you that. This is just some pictures. The warehouse area, the lounge area, the office, the packing area, and we also did the solar PV with storage for them. And that is a load of garble. So basically the objective itself, this is their building. It's just a load of stuff, you know. I could send that to you, but I'll just be waffling. It's the same things that you've seen me talk about previously. So
I'm just wondering if you have a
Sure.
hall with a solar and heating and heat pumps.
Yeah. You would do, and Kim Bolton is probably is Cambridge, sir, but Kim Bolton has everything in it. That's one of the closest ones, and I probably could think of another one, but I can't remember one off the top of my head. Anyway, the scope of the work was really to remove the gas to the building and make the building more cost effective and more energy efficient, which is a lot of what corporate people are doing at the moment. So we designed a work package, which first of all, the work package was to install the infrared heating, then solar. Then we did the hot water solutions for them. Hot Water was using all their tanks for drinking water, as well as kitchens and toilets, and then decommissioning the existing system that they had there previously. And we also called in some decorators that we knew, and we also did internal decorating as well. So it was obviously a large project, and we went with different methods. We went with far and medium wave infrared into different locations, giving them a savings. We're still working on that, but it's around 40% overall they've saved thus far. This was installed last year, so they're still looking at their solar, and they haven't run the solar for a year yet, so they're basically looking at how that solar is running for them. The infrared in the warehouses was pretty straightforward, but the complexity is running the cables and getting everything where we need it to be, which I'll show you in a minute. And this is just showing what we used, how we go about it. And this is this was one of the hardest part for us to actually get in place, because what they were doing previously, they had gas heaters in different parts of the building, and they're blowing hot air throughout the entire building, which was never warm enough. Absolutely never warm enough for anybody. So what we did is identify isolated areas where we needed heating, and we've put those heating on spot heating areas where we use a where we use a PIR system. So that PIR would come on for about, depending on 5 minutes. So PIR is if you understand, it's occupancy sensor. So as soon as somebody comes into the occupancy in that zone, the heating would come on, and it would be spot heating at a target temperature.
What does it actually stand for? PIR.
It is. Sorry.
Oh, I see. Right. Well, I'm trying to get.
Oh, I think it's Charles. I think
Charles,
you've got some talking.
Yeah.
You need to go on mute. Welcome.
Hi, Charles.
Thank you. Hi.
Right. So it's personalized infrared. So basically, it will look at where the objects are. Let's see if I can pull it up. Where is it again? 1 second. Right, there we are. So it basically reads. So you might have, when you have outdoor heating where you flash your hand and the lights come on.
Yeah.
That's the same process. So it's a PIR sensor that goes into that model. And
Charles, would you mind muting, because we can hear background noise coming from.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, so that's what we've done there in the different packing areas and in manager's office. So we've identified where we need spot heating, and we have spot heating over those areas. We also have thermostatic sensor. So there's a thermostatic sensor here measuring the temperatures around here. That would give us the 17 degrees that we need. So what we'd have the PIR come on, and then the sensor would say what is the temperature there, and then it would climb up to 17 degrees and then go off. We have the fast pack.
Would you have this in a village hall then?
We've done it in one village hall where the customer says, in the toilets, I want a PIR, and we've done that in that environment. But most village halls want an ambient temperature constantly, so it may not be applicable there. Plus, you would be turning, it's not instantaneous heat. You could get it instantaneous heat, but we would be using different types of heaters in that environment. We might be using shortwave heaters for the instantaneous heat. Whereas in most village halls, you want ambient heating, where the entire area is heated at one temperature.
I'm just wondering what would happen in that toilet. So was that the only heating in the that just came on when someone went in there? And if so, what happens about damp?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's that particular customer wanted it for their purposes, and we said yeah, but it's not something that we would recommend they do, and they decided that they wanted to do it that way. So,
But they didn't have any other heating in there?
no, they didn't.
Oh. Okay, I'm just wondering, we're sort of getting towards
Yeah,
time. I'm
I'm
wondering
happy
if
to
we can
talk
get
about anything else.
back to halls, if that's all
Sure.
right. I'm sorry if I'm not ruining it for anyone, am I?
No,
But
no.
I just
No.
think if we have some hall examples,
Mhm.
are the people
That's the yeah. So that's Pilot Pen in terms of what we did everything with them.
that's amazing that project, but yeah.
And Kim Bolton, you probably seen already. Let's see if I have another one for you. Second.
Is anybody here thinking of having infrared? I know Jackie is at Alice Marshall, but are you sort of interested in solar panels as well to heat to
Yeah.
supply the power?
Solar air source heat pump and possibly infrared.
Yeah,
Okay.
and solar panels.
Yeah.
And as we got some infrared, perhaps enhancing what we got, because they reluctantly accepted. My husband virtually just did it. He didn't charge any labour. He just, to persuade them to do it, just the heaters, which I think have been successful. But
Yeah.
you know, some people think because they heat up so quick, or they're taking so much energy, you know.
Mhm.
It's
What would you say to dispel that, Damien?
well, I say you've got to
No,
look
I mean
at
Damien.
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So if they're not thermostatically controlled, then that would be my first protocol. So monitoring that and setting it to the baseline temperature. And if they feel too warm, then that's that. What is the issue that they have? Is they're
They're
totally
worried
against
about
it?
using too much heat.
Well, it's got to be controlled. So you have to.
It's very well controlled.
Okay.
And they got it on time. You know, he's put it on timers. He's put them to just come in pairs. But I think this idea is that because it makes it so warm,
Yeah.
you know, it's costing them a lot because they're used to the hall being cold, and they go,
Right.
oh, people are always putting them on for an extra quarter of an hour. They should let it go cold, and yet the users actually like it. But I think it's just getting people's head round a different form of heating.
So you
and
mentioned
persuading them, you know, that a different form of heating, even though we do accept it needs extra installation and everything, this is a stopgap until they can afford to do the refurb.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you don't make your users comfortable, because they were so cold, people weren't using it because of it being cold.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got, you know, you've got to have some trade-off there in the interim period. But
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
If it's only on timers, then I would suggest the thermostat to go together with the timers. That would be my only other suggestion. Because if it's thermostatically controlled, then the heating wouldn't come on when it doesn't need to. But then again, you've got some people feel very warm, some people feel very cold. So you can't please everybody all the time, unfortunately.
But you shouldn't really stint on heat, otherwise you won't get the hirers, will you?
That's
If
true.
you're-
Yeah, this is, people have got to feel comfortable, and I don't think they've given it enough time because it was done last season, but they haven't been using them correctly.
Mm.
And so therefore I think they should measure their bills more to see the benefit of it in a way.
Yeah.
But I am slowly getting there, but I thought if I sat in on this, it just is not just coming from me then, it's coming from other projects which have been very successful. You know, in the long term, obviously with the refurbishment, they might look to having more in different, but this was a stopgap solution to make people using the main hall comfortable.
Hmm.
Because there are other rooms and everything, but it was the main hall with the high ceiling or with no insulation that was making people feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Do you think the bills have shut up, Celia?
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's perception.
I mean,
Well,
it really
I
needs a study needs to be made, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that you can actually prove it, because
It's
there's
because
nothing
it
worse than
feels-
thinking
No, I
something,
think
but it
it's
might not be
because
correct.
it feels warm. They
Hmm.
think it's using a lot of heat. Well, everything is going to use energy, but then you've got to measure one thing against the other, haven't you?
Well, it's a different kind of heat. It's
Yeah,
I can
That's it. Yeah.
I can vouch for that. The fact that you feel very toasty.
Yeah.
With infrared heating, but it's not necessarily. In fact, they, being a new design, they're
Yeah.
more efficient, aren't they, Damien?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, perhaps I'll get there.
Hope so.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I have a
Welcome,
question.
Charles.
Yes, please do.
Sorry, Keith.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
I'm
couldn't
just
skip
wondering,
my yoga class.
You're doing,
Okay.
you offer both air source. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, Keith.
Yeah, you offer air source heat pumps and you also do infrared. So if you were looking at a building afresh, what would determine which way to go, whether to go for an air source heat pump or
If
infrared?
it's a new build, and the building is being designed immediately, I would suggest possibly air source heat pump, because you're doing a fresh reverberation. If you're going for a refurb, 9 times out of 10 I would say infrared heating. And
But if it's an
You-
oldish building that's been around a while,
well, then I would think infrared heating. But a new build, if you're demolishing and you're starting afresh, I would suggest air source heat pump based on the U values that you're working towards. U values with an older building, it's with the best will in the world, you're never going to get the kind of U values you want, depending on the age of the building. So practically, infrared would be a better solution there.
if a static, it's a kind of static. I'm thinking of a static office where people are. It's occupied frequently, but
Yeah.
not all day.
Cost-wise, infrared.
So you think infrared would be cheaper?
Yeah,
To run.
cost-wise, infrared. Yeah, because 9 times out of 10, you need to have your air source heat pump running 24/7, and then you might need more power installed to run it. Whereas if you've got infrared heating, you're only heating on demand. You're not heating when you need to. When you don't need to, you're just heating when you need it. So you turn it on 20 minutes, half an hour before an event or when people walk in, and you get your desired heat when you need it, and it goes off. Does that help?
Yes, that helps. Thanks. Thank you.
And we have in the past done supplementary heating with infrared. So we've had some village halls that have air source heat pump fitted, and they came to us and said, "Can you do some supplementary heating to that?" And we've done so in the past, even underfloor heating. So that is something that we could do with. Any other questions? I know time is, I don't want to be taking up too much more of your time.
Charles, which hall are you from?
Whitchurch on Thames. It's rather unusual building. It was modified from an ex-military laundry. The ceiling's fairly low and well insulated, but there might be scope for use of solar panels as supplementary sources of heat and lighting.
Okay, that's fantastic. We can help.
And are you interested in the arc thermal heating as well?
I don't think we've got any pressing requirement for that. The present system seems to work quite well, and it's controlled automatically by a device which we can regulate the times so that the matches bookings for the hall. Yeah, we'd be interested in any way in reducing our sort of electricity or gas bills. Yeah.
What type of booking system is it? Is it? I know there are multiples around there, and I know I don't want to call many names, but
yeah, it's just called hall booking. It's a very simple
booking
system.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it does enable people from outside to see what's going on and see if there's a slot that they can apply for. And then there's an approval process, to see that they're the right sort of people to be using the hall. But that all works quite well. So we're really looking at sort of ways that we can reduce our running costs, in a controlled way.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Roger's left, that's fine. If there are any other questions, you can share my details, Tessa. You can share, and I'll happily chat to anyone or communicate with anyone if they want to afterwards.
Have you got? You mentioned case studies. Have you got them on your website, or shall I?
There are case studies on
my
website. There are some case studies on my website as well. You can have a look, and there are different products on the website. This one is not on the website, and this is the Mayor's Climate Change Fund case study. This is Stuart B Village Hall. This is one with the dome ceiling.
Oh yeah.
And this is what was installed, and they did this independently. This here is the booking, the programs that they set. So I think I showed you this one today, Jackie, didn't I?
Yes.
They have different rooms that they could program the heating to come on and off when and if they need it. But what was quite clever is that they did this without us, and I thought that was quite nice. But they've saved some money.
Can I ask another question? Sorry.
Sorry, just quick. Is that linked to the booking system?
No.
No. Okay.
Unfortunately. But that's something that we're working on in the background.
Well,
that's why I asked the question of which booking system it was.
That's why I put the idea in my mind. Sorry, Keith. Was I?
Sorry, Keith.
That's all right. I just also wonder if you have any numbers anywhere that comparing say the kilowatt usage or kilowatt, the energy usage of an infrared system compared to, say, gas. In our case, it would be replacing gas.
Yeah,
we can give relative you costs.
We can give you indicative costs, but it will not be pinpoint accurate, unfortunately.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, but we can give you indicative costs. If I can. Sorry, I think I had one open. 1 second. So make assumptions. Right. One second. I'm going to show you this quickly.
You always have to stop sharing and then re-share when you're trying
Yeah.
to show different
Yeah,
documents.
apologies.
That's all right.
So this is people see, can you see all the way to the top?
If you can make the presentation.
Sure, I'll do
How
it
do
as a
you-
slideshow.
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
do it as a slideshow.
Oh.
Okay. So this
That's
is
better. Yeah,
this
thank
is
you.
this is a hole that we're working on. They've not signed on the dotted line yet, but this is version 5. So committees and village halls we know very well. This hall has been in the works since 2021. So we know that dealing with committees, dealing with village halls takes time. So don't be afraid of that. We totally understand. And this is how we would normally present it. So this is our short form presentation. We have an overview of the company again. We would have the heating layout of where we would recommend the heaters to go. Heating layout in this case here, we have 6 1200 watt heaters, 3 900 watt heaters in this area, 3 900 watt heaters, and 2 325 heaters in the corridor area. And this is the total energy consumption or energy requirement. So when I told you that we would work on our specification of what watts per square meter we need, this is where it comes out. So the main hall, it's 50 square meters. We said we want 150 watts per square meter because of the building itself. Building is a stone building in the middle of deepest Devon, and it's a very cool hall. So based on that information, they spit out and let us know that we will need 6 by 1200 watt heaters, totaling of 7.2 kilowatts, giving us watts per square meter at 144 watts per square meter. So slightly short of 150 watts per square meter, but well within the tolerance. What that means is that particular hall will take a little longer to warm up than if we went with, let's say, 1600 watts heaters. But then you have the cost balance on that because it might be too costly, and then you have the cost of the energy as well. So you have to balance things out here. And 140 watts per square meter in that hall, 144 watts per square meter in that hall, will be adequate with a warm-up time of half an hour. And then different areas, similar thing, different areas giving us different watts per square meter, spitting out a total of 13.2 kilowatts, 13.25 kilowatts needed for this hall. So once we work that out, then we give you an estimated running cost. So we have a warm-up time. And what we mean by warm-up phase is when we're going from your half an hour before you get up to temperature, it will cost this hall 1.7 pence per kilowatt. To get for that 7.2 kilowatts, it will cost them that to get them up to a warm-up phase, and then a maintenance phase of 58p. The maintenance meaning is what if we want to keep that temperature base at 20 degrees for 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever we want to be. So this is typically what we would send you, Keith, in terms of the running cost of the infrared.
Mhm.
Now we can work backwards and say in a scenario where you have controls and different, look at it versus gas as well.
When you
Yeah.
say warming up phase,
Yeah,
what's actually what are you actually warming up? Are you warming up the
Warming-
walls,
we're warming up
walls-
the walls, the fabric of
Mm.
the building.
the fabric of the building?
And the last thing we would warm up is the air. Then we identify the products that we are going to use. In this environment, we are using a time, they wanted a time booster as well, but we've discounted that. We just showed them the thermostat. This is the thermostat as a heater, and these are the other heaters going to the different walls. Show you the size of the heaters, and then we go into the controls. So this is the heating controls that we would normally use. This is the hub that plugs into your router. So this is the brains of the system. This plugs into the router. This talks to the receiver, which is this device, and the receiver talks to the thermostat. So this then talks to the app. So where you have a router, this plugs into the router, talks to that, talks to that, talks to the app. This thermostat is independently agnostic, so you can turn it up and down. We see these buttons there. You can turn the heating up and down within the program. Set your programs on the app and your heating to come on as and when you need to. And this is just customer feedback, and you see different halls, different place positions, and the customer signs the contract, and away we go. So, is that helpful?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This information is on your website. Similar information.
Yeah. Any other questions? Jackie, are you happy now?
I am. It's all been really interesting, and I just would like to say that having dealt with you today, nothing seemed a problem, which I think is encouraging to those people who are wondering whether to go with ARC. It just, I mean, we quibbled over the colour of the wire that we were going to use because we have beautiful beams and we didn't want grey wire, so we asked for black. And nothing seems a problem. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that we were very happy with you and your electrician today.
Thank you very much for that. That's greatly appreciated.
So has anybody got any more questions? Of course, you can always, yes. Oh, can always contact Damien, and I'm glad to hear that you're very patient, because of course, when a quote comes in, then there's the matter of fundraising to get the work. So
Which is
this
it
all takes time, as you know.
Yeah. We the longest we've been dealing with a hall was about 6 years, and that finally came off. And even Robin, who was on the call earlier on, we've been talking to Robin about 3 years now, or thereabouts. So it's not we understand, and we're patient, and we try and help as much as we can.
Yes, Swinbrook is needing a lot of refurbishment, so it's not just the heating, is it? Just to explain.
Yeah. So close to Swinbrook, is it Burford? Am I saying that correctly? Burford High Street, we have something. It's a nice shop there called Handley, I think it is. Just on the High Street there. Well, Heaton's in there as well. Amanda Handley, that's it.
Okay.
So that's just off the shelf. So if you're in there in that area, you can have a look at those as well. Good.
Well, that is
I think
it,
I think Roger wants to have a chat about it as well. So if you could share Roger's details at some stage, that'd be good. And you can share my details with everyone as well if you want to.
And I don't know, just in case you missed it at the beginning, I can guarantee that infrared heating is very toasty. And you would get more bookings, I'm sure. Yeah, because it is very efficient. And having had experience of it, then I would happily book a hall that's got it over one that hasn't.
Our hall is really quite chilly, but hoping for improvement.
It will do. Yeah, and you got a lovely, nice floors. The floors are absolutely beautiful. So there you go.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.